Now, communities in Johannesburg could be without running water in their taps this weekend as the water outlook remains bleak. Joburg Water officials briefed the media today on the current water supply challenges facing the city. The entity says while Rand water systems show signs of recovery, the system is still constrained. SABC News reporter Hasina Gori was there and joins us live in studio for more. Hasina, thanks for your time this afternoon. Just take us through what came out of that briefing.
So today's briefing was specifically to speak on just an overnight and 24-hour outlook on the reservoirs in the Johannesburg system. And what we know is it's been an ongoing issue. They've also conceded that from at least 24 August 2023, there's been this crisis that's been ongoing with regards to water. There've been the blame game moving from, Rand water to Johannesburg water. But issues specifically looked at that have been causing the water issues has been infrastructure issues, but also the weather. We've not seen rainfall, to such an extent in the spring right now, which have brought in, more burden on an already burdened system, but also load shedding seems to have caused issues when it comes to the pumping of water into the system. However, they're saying that the system is recovering, but not at the rate that they would like to see it at. We're not out of the clear just yet. There's some areas, specifically in South Hall, where you could see some areas still being without water. There's also pressure issues that might happen. Some might see that the very low pressure that's happening, because they've conceded that while we don't see water shedding in the sense of load shedding, where there's hours where waters are cut off, specifically, but you'll see throttling of just the pressure, which see a trickling in of water. There have been communities we've been speaking to throughout, the last few months, specifically, around Johannesburg South, that have been without running water for quite a while. So they're saying that, some areas, we know Auckland Park here has been affected. Earlier this week, we didn't have, running water in our own building. So these are just, some of the areas which are out of the, bleakness, but there are many that still could find themselves over the weekend, finding that the water is trickling in.
Okay, Hasina, some would say that the infrastructure challenges that we're experiencing specifically in the city of Johannesburg, but across the country as well, are contributing towards challenges with almost every aspect of daily life. In Johannesburg, this water, how much of a role does aging and not looked after infrastructure play?
That is also an issue, and it's a question we've put to the Johannesburg Water, but also Rand Water. They've said that there are plans in place for recommissioning and but also, yet again, infant stages. They're still in planning stages, still a while before we're going to see that actually being implemented. But they've also been in some areas, I know areas such as Kwathemba, where they've put in new reservoirs, or they've put in new piping that have been brought in. But specifically around the Johannesburg area, there were two areas that they highlighted, Hertzville, if I remember correctly, and Meyersdal, which was where they were looking at reserve pumping reservoirs to be created. That was at infancy stages. We've seen, though, upgrades to valves. We've seen upgrades over the last few years, earlier this year as well, but again, still not contributing. Also, an issue of consumption, growing when it comes to weather patterns like the heat wave, which are also now burdening our supply that is currently ongoing. We have to also take into account that we have been seeing environmental factors that are outside of the control of infrastructure that have also played a part. We've been through either droughts or less rainfall, all contributing. So I think this is a trifecta of various different elements that have come into play, and what we see happening is then that burden of the end user, which is me and you, the consumer, having no water in our taps.
Should we prepare for, and did they raise this, actual water cuts? Because I know that that's been part of the discourse, that there may be water cuts in South Africa. And as opposed to getting upset when it happens, is that something that could be on the horizon for us outside of these incidents which are supposed to be isolated or unusual?
For now, there have not been any raised concerns on specific water cuts from the city of Johannesburg. There are mitigating plans in place that one needs to be aware of. Between the hours of 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., there is a throttling of pressure in various different reservoirs. There's a whole list that they've put on, which they're saying that they've been doing from January this year. And it's just now gone, worsened. So now end users are, actually being impacted by it. But also they're trying to create a reserve for the daytime. So what they would do is that during the evening part is that they would, trickle down the amount of water that will be let out from the reservoirs to make sure that the supply has been built up. so that during the day customers are able to then have water in their taps. So we've been seeing that happening, and they're saying that there's no timeline yet for how long it's going to take. They're trying to recover all the reservoirs to at least 50%, and the numbers right now, some are recovering at 35 and 40, but some are still quite low at this point. So it's going to be a wait and see game, and hopefully we don't see load shedding, coming, up, or any other factors that could, have our reserves and our supply hindered once again.
Hasina Gori, thank you so much for your time and sharing what you heard at that briefing with us. We really appreciate it this afternoon.